this together.
Hey, good evening, guys. I'm Kyle T. Mosley of Black Sports Insiders here with Ray Rogers as well as Keisha Kelly. How you guys doing today?
Good. How are you?
All right. All right. I wish everybody a great weekend ahead. It looks like it's going to be a fun weekend. We got the battle of the real HUs that's going to go down on the East Coast there. Ray, how you guys looking, man?
You guys, I want to be careful when I say that. I get accused of being a Howard alum often because of just my close proximity. So it's a program I cover, but it's going to be lit for lack of better terms because Hampton has a large alumni base in the DC area, and Howard is Howard, and Howard blew a big lead last season, and they don't want that to happen. But you know what? I'll be real. As much as I'm pro Howard in many ways, I'm favor Hampton in this game. Just to be honest with you.
Really? Okay. Pirates look good. I thought the Howard guys, they were going to look a little bit better against Morehouse and put more of a hurting on us. But, you know, they did put a hurting on us. I'm not going to lie about that one. but it was good to see all together. Kim, how you doing today?
I'm good, thanks. How are you guys?
Good. Good seeing you, ladies and gentlemen. And Wilton will be in shortly. He is covering the WNBA at this time. And before we talk a little bit about the WNBA, we had some good news that came out of New Orleans. Keisha, talk about the HBCU Legacy Bowl.
So y'all know that's one of our near and dear. We love a good Legacy Bowl. I think I'm Kyle. I'm sure we both been there since the beginning.
Yeah.
But they actually released the first two players, and I'm a fan of Miles Crawley. I'm gonna just say that quarterback from Grambling. I am a fan of Miles Crawley. And he's just a different quarterback, and so he was one of the first persons I saw that they announced. I think they only announced two, and then there was someone from the from Virginia Union. So right now, you know, I guess they're getting ready to roll it out. And, you know, just let us know what's going on. And I was like, wait, it's kind of early. But when I look at it, I'm like, it is September going into October. So we'll get to see, you know, Miles Crawley. That's the first one announced. So we'll get to see a lot of Miles Crawley this weekend as they face Jackson State.
All right. Yeah. Jackson State playing those guys at Grambling. Grambling came off a very dramatic win. It was a overtime win up there in Louisiana and Texas, Commerce, Texas. And they went back to Louisiana very, very happy with that overtime win against Texas A&M Commerce. But also we have Southern, and they are coming to play Prairie View. And we'll talk a little bit with Bubba Mcdowell later in the show. I'll go through that interview I had with him. But Kim, let's talk about some of the tennis ladies, man. They've been making some news out there. We're talking about Coco Gauff as well as Naomi Osaka. Those ladies are splitting with their coaches around the same time and trying to find new coaches going into the new season, I guess. What are your thoughts about that?
You know, it's not uncommon, you know, in tennis, you work with someone, and when it seems like it's not a fit. And so because the splits are announced now, they didn't really just happen now, right? It's building. And so I was following some of the stuff about Coco online, and they were like, yeah, after her disappointing run at the U.S. Open, she split with Coach Brad Gilbert. But I don't think it was just the U.S. Open, right? I think that Coco had for her, by her standards, a disappointing summer. And when I watched the U.S. Open and I'm watching her box and I'm watching her body language, and I'm seeing at times where she's looking to the box and I'm seeing the box kind of, you know, it didn't seem to be a connection, right?
Weren't connected, yeah.
So it was time. I mean, you know, Corey, her father, when he brought Brad in a little less than a year ago, he thought that was, you know, the move. He needed to bring somebody else in because her dad started coaching her, but he knew that it was time to bring somebody else in to help. He brought in Brad Gilbert. I think initially she was okay with it because her dad brought him in, but it looked like there was always I'm not really sure he's the one. And so they, you know, they made the split, and so it has not been announced yet. I know she's talked to they've talked to some people, but no decision's been made yet. As far as Naomi Osaka, she is going to work with Serena's former coach, and I actually think he got a lot more credit for Serena's success than he deserved, but that's just me. But if it works for Naomi, if she thinks that's the fit, because it's really about finding that coach that you connect with and that you have some great communication with, which is always a factor in sports. And if that's what you think you need right now, and then you go for it and see what happens. But, you see, if you follow tennis, you see coaching changes happen, not really uncommon. So that is what's happening now. And I'm looking to see what decision Corey, that's Coco's dad, and her ultimately make in terms of who's going to lead her team.
Yeah. Well, splits are not uncommon with coaching as well. It just didn't seem like you said, it didn't seem like it was gelling well with Coco this season. Not to make any excuses for her, because the other young ladies played tremendous tennis. I just think right now a change could possibly help put her in a different direction, as well as kind of kickstart that career up again, because right now she's in her prime. So we got to get it while we're hot.
She's still very young. I mean, Coco's still really young. One of the things that I saw from her, and I think you and I may have talked about it over the past several months, is I saw her not really showing up like the champion she's been. And I don't mean that means you win every single match, but it was in the matches where she had challenges. It seemed like she was doing a little bit of a little more complaining, and that's not really her character, and it's not really the mindset of a champion. And so for me, it's always about that championship mindset. And I saw that not being consistent with her. And so whatever that is, because she is a champion, right? And so you show up like that, and there's going to be some calls you don't like, and some calls that you're right could just be wrong. But how you handle that, because she's allowed some of those calls and some of those instances to take her out of her game. And so that's the thing that I hope she can navigate and work through it. I'm sure she can. Like I said, I thought she'd win her first Grand Slam by the time she was 20 or 21. And she, of course, won it a few years earlier than that. So she's got a lot of tennis left ahead of her, and I think she'll be fine.
All right. Will, how you doing?
I am doing good. What about yourself?
Good. I know you were covering the WNBA earlier. Look, a lot is going on in the WNBA. You had Angel Reese and a couple of other young ladies who were on the Sports Illustrated 40 influential stars rising, whatever. And right now, if you look at Angel Reese on that cover, man, she sure was looking good before that forearm injury, right? But she has made an impact. Caitlin Clark has made a great impact, and other young ladies have made an impact. What are your thoughts about those people who were included and the ones that are still on the cusp that will be the future stars of the WNBA?
Cal, I think it's just a testament to what's going on in the WNBA, and it's not something that just happened, obviously, this year. You have to go back to the college game within the past couple of years, and rightfully so. When you look at that, you go back to a player like an Angel Reese and obviously a player like a Caitlin Clark. Their battles of, in college, and of course, like the championship game that everybody remembers. But this is this was basically a build-up even before that championship game, where it was just a lot more people starting to care about women's college basketball. I mean, it was just so many different storylines. One thing about sports that we definitely know is that people love, we love to see battles, and we love storylines. We love to see who's going to go up against who's doing, when I say trash talk, not necessarily trash talk in a negative way, but more so of, this popularity or what gets people talking. What do people care about? And it's just so much to care about when it comes to the women's game. Of course, people are going to watch the game to see who wins, but you're also talking about the style these ladies are wearing and things of that nature when they're coming to games. And so really, when you look at the WNBA specifically, more so than other women's sports, like they're finally getting or starting to get more of that exposure that they've desperately been wanting to get for since basically the inception of the league. And so now that you're seeing it happen, you're getting players like the Angel Reeses of the world, the Caitlin Clarks of the world, bringing in this new, not necessarily new tradition, but more so like this new layer of exposure that other players didn't always get, the ones that paved the way before them. Because I can guarantee you, with players like Angel Reese, Camila Cardoso, Rakia Jackson, Caitlin Clark, it's not going to stop here. I mean, you just turn the chapter and look behind us. That's really not so far behind us. You look at the college game, look at Juju Watkins. Like, you're talking about a player who could be, she's already good now, but she doesn't necessarily know how good she's going to be. And that's scary, because Juju was really, really good last year during the regular season at USC, then of course throughout the tournament. And so, and that's just one example. So to see, players like her, obviously South Carolina is going to reload this year, and then just other players that are constantly being, coming out of some of these Power Four conferences. But then even beyond that, some of the players that are just being spread out and looking at the talent across the entire nation when it comes to women's college basketball. So it's not surprising to see, where Angel Reese is now, her and Caitlin Clark leading this new wave of the WNBA and what that looks like. It's just only going to continue to get better.
Yeah.
Hey, Kyle, let me, can I?
Sure.
I wanted to just add something. You're talking about the WNBA. Of course, we heard this week that they're going to expand to Portland. We already know that they've decided to expand to Toronto. And today, Tillman Fertitta, owner of the Rockets, who is looks like the NHL team's coming to Houston, but he also has made it clear that he's putting in a bid to bring a WNBA team back to Houston. Well, he's going to use the Comets branding, so he wants to try to put in a bid for that. So, we'll see. I the person who covered the Comets actually was a part of the Comets radio broadcast, and it's just amazing that team, some of you are a little bit younger, but when the WNBA started, those games were sold out. The TV numbers, some of the best TV numbers, I think 7 of the top all-time rated WNBA games were from those first 4 years. And then the league dropped off tremendously because, as you mentioned, they didn't do a good job of sustaining that once they split from the NBA franchises they were connected to. So it's a great time for women's sports, especially in women's basketball. And it just seems almost just sinful that there's not a team in Houston. And so one of my best friends, Zena, and I always talk about what in the world, how could there not be a team in Houston? And so it's good to see Tillman Fertitta making a move in that direction.
Yeah, very good. We got to get the Comets back on track in Houston, man. Those ladies were on fire. Wouldn't that be something that Cheryl Swoops is a part of that? Just putting it out there, guys. Keisha.
Yes.
Prairie View this weekend.
Yeah.
What's going on with the Jags?
I mean, we got identical records, Cal. Don't act like they like.
I say Prairie View. Oh. I say Prairie View now. Don't talk. Don't come at me like that.
They got the same record that the Jaguars have. Struggling. But I am happy. I know we did talk about T-Set the other day. So as you, I don't know if you know, but they have named Nnwa as the starting quarterback. So coming in, I guess it's still like the protocol, but Nnwa has been named the starting quarterback. I'm one of those person. I didn't pick up Chinnis Berries one game at a time. Go 1-0 because I don't know what the Jaguars gonna do. They surprise me. I'm gonna stick by my team, but they surprise me every week. And the crazy thing is we're getting into SWAC play.
Yeah.
So, getting into SWAC play, it does. You talk about playing Prairie View this weekend, then Nichols, then I think Texas Southern, maybe Texas Southern. Yeah. And then Alcorn. So it's just like, it's not going to slow down. It's just the SWAC play it's going to get crazy.
Yeah. If you look at the SWAC play across the board, it's going to be very hot these next several weeks, man, and it's going to be very contentious, especially in the SWAC West, because nobody has really risen to the top yet, and we'll see how that goes. But Jackson State looks like they're into a fight there, Wilton, with FAMU right now, and we'll see how those guys go. But you can't count out the Hornets. That's one thing you're going to have to contend with them as well. All right, we have a talk with Coach Bubba Mcdowell. We're going to go in and talk about what's going to happen and his thoughts on the Panthers program. And it was a good talk, very enlightening talk. And we'll be back in a few minutes to have Bubba McDowell a part of the show. Thank you.
November is American Diabetes Month, but we're not here to celebrate it. Not when diabetes is gripping us and hurting us. At the American Diabetes Association, we're here to make a stand. Join us, add your passion, lift up your loved ones and those in need, and move us closer to a cure. Someday, we can celebrate. Until then, we fight.
Visit your local Acura dealer for attractive offers on a new vehicle.
See those people right there? Mm-hmm. When they get inside and find out this place doesn't serve food, they're gonna wish they had done this. Facts.
Get one favorite like a Big Mac or Quarter Pounder with cheese and get another for just $1 right now at McDonald's.
This is how it starts with the 2023 McDonald's Change Leaders. 10 young Black visionaries who are starting something and changing everything. Find out what they're up to at mcdchangeleaders.com.
No charger?
It's a Mac. The battery lasts all day. See you next week.
How do you feel the team is evolving at this stage? And you have a big test coming up with Southern coming into town.
Definitely a big test. And again, they know us, we know them. Now it's just about us just going out and executing. I feel really good. As I told them, I said, guys, we're there. We're almost there. We're not quite there. We're almost there. We just got to cut out the little small detail mistakes that stop us from being as good as we can be, because we're moving the ball, but it just seems like every time we're moving or we're in third down, something happens. And as I told us, guys, you got to be able to get into film room and look at, what it is that I'm doing wrong, and hold yourself accountable so we don't go out and make these same mistakes over and over and over again. But I feel good that, again, just coming out this week and minimizing the mistakes that we normally had throughout the week of practice, has got cutting down pretty much this week. And again, hopefully that's a good sign.
Good. Will you guys turn back to Peterson as your starter?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yep.
And that relationship you guys have, I know all spring you wanted him to be the guy, and then Lucas Coley came in, and how's he faring along with his rehabilitation?
He's getting better. He's throwing a little bit, just a little bit of soreness after he throws, but he's definitely come along really, really good. Again, we're gonna let him warm up in the game and just kind of see where he's at, and and just hold him out again just until he's 100% healthy and ready to go, right. as well as James Burns. So he don't look like nothing wrong with him, but we're gonna hold him off a little bit, let him at least warm up and see how he feels, and then we'll make the call from there.
How are you guys preparing for a possibility? We don't really know if T-Set is going to be available, or if Biden, he may be tweaked with the injury as well. Mm-hmm. How are you guys preparing for this team?
Again, we don't know. As you said, we don't know who's going to be there and at the helm, running that offense. But again, as I tell guys, we tell guys, should I say, no matter who's back there, we just got to go out and do our job. Again, we know that they can move the ball, they can throw the ball. But again, how you go out and prepare yourself throughout the week and go out for Saturday, and do what we ask you to do and not what you want to do because you just want to make plays, Kyle, we'll be fine. And that's been our big Achilles heel. Kids will get there, we've all been there. We've been a part of. We played the game. We, again, now we coaching it. But as I told kids, guys, just do the defense, do the offense, special team, and let the play come to you. It's going to happen instead of you just going out and say, "Oh gosh, I want to make a play." Then a lot of times it, end up hurting us. But again, doesn't matter who's back there. We've been preparing for all of them, and ready, and we're going to be ready to go. We just got to make the play happen. Defensively, secondary, way better than we were last year. We had our hands, some chances on the ball. Again, just not coming up with it, and as we tell them, like, guys, these are plays that we need to have defensively to get off the field, give it to our offense, and let them do what they need to do to get that ball in the end zone. In the end zone. And again, we're there. Like DBs, I don't know. I may head over to Home Depot this weekend and get some stickum. That old stickum we used to use.
Get some stickum.
Back in the old days, I know it's illegal, but man, yeah, we've had our chances.
We won't tell it, Coach.
Okay, good. We've had our chances with interception, but again, we just have to come up with the big plays.
How do you feel as far as your defensive rushing front? How's that going to hold up, as well as how are you guys going to attack them in the rushing game?
Again, we're going to attack them no different than we've been attacking, Texas Southern, Northwestern State, Michigan State, guys hitting their gaps. Excuse me, and and then just being as perfect assignment, as possible. Again, Kyle, when we do what we're supposed to do, it's going to be very hard to run against us, man. And it's when they don't do it and they try to make a play, make something happen out of their gaps, responsibilities, and they end up gashing us, at that particular time. But as we show it to them, and again, hoping that this doesn't happen again, because you're doing what we're asking you to do as coaches. And if you do that, again, I know I keep reiterating that, but if you do that alone, we can be pretty goddamn dominant, as they saw in the Michigan State, even though it was 200, a lot of those 200 came in the fourth quarter again when we had our second and third group in there.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's good to know because, numbers can be deceiving at times if you're not understanding the nuances, what's happening inside the game, right?
So we put guys out that third quarter, to save them, at that point, we put guys in a very early fourth quarter and just see what they was going to do. And it was good experience for them, and then also for us to see what these guys can do against a team like that.
When you talk to the Panther faithful and the ones who are supporting you, why is this game such a critical game that you guys going to face a wounded Jaguars team, but a dangerous Jaguars team?
Yeah, wounded, but you're absolutely right, dangerous, because again, if we don't do what we're supposed to do responsibility-wise, as coaches, making the right calls, putting guys in position to make plays, and then for them going out to execute it, things can go around real fast, can go left real fast, and we don't want that to happen. We feel that we make that same mistake early in the year against Texas Southern, got too high. Game was too high for a lot of kids, then wasn't able to, do their responsibility because they looking around, conversating with people in the stands, and not focusing on the game. So we want to, make sure, as I went to staff meeting today after practice, and I said, look, guys, I just need you guys to keep these guys calm. Keep them in the game, keep them focused, because again, it's going to be like, crowd wise, it should be just as deep, as the first game, the Labor Day Classic,
Right.
Southern going to travel. That's what they do, and we got, we here. So we're expecting a lot of our fans and student body to come out, support us. So again, just keeping these guys focused, against a good Southern team, it's going to be a task, but I think we're ready for it.
All right, that was Coach Bubba Mcdowell. We will be back to talk a little bit about what's going to happen with that game, as well as talk about some new topics that should be of great interest to you in Black sports. We'll be back in 2 and 2.
The walking tree is said to change its entire location in pursuit of sunlight. Where could reinvention take your business? Accenture. Let there be change.
That way.
We're close. Let's go.
With Nissan, fun has no limits.
Hey, it's Jared. Let me show you how I created my dorm room vibe for less with Amazon. I have tons of different clothes. I have some pajama pants, more pajama pants. People say I have too much. I don't really listen to people. I love to journal. I got my gratitude journal, I got my mantra journal, and I got my 5-minute journal. And oh, I got a package from Amazon. Let's see what we got for today. This is perfect. This is my journal that I journal about journaling. Dear Diary, I wish I had more PJs.
Welcome back to the Black Sports Insiders, guys. What are your first thoughts, Keisha, Wilton, Kim, as well as Ray, about what Coach McDowell had to say?
Well, I'll go first. He did make a good point. And then I think this is across the board with any team. You can be banged up and wounded up no matter what it is, but every team can still, you don't know what you're going to get from a team from week to week. And like I said, prior to, we have Bowden that's starting. So from week to week, we don't know what we're going to get. And of course, they've been studying this. Again, this is going into the first game of SWAC play. So, everybody's ultimate goal, of course, is to get to Atlanta. That's the ultimate goal. No matter what happens, that's the ultimate goal, is to get to Celebration Bowl. So, I think it's a situation of, what he said was, I don't know what he's talking about, stick them or stick it, whatever. But Cal, I'm going to go ahead and report both of y'all because I feel like y'all do some underhanded stuff to my team. But everybody on here heard it. But no, honestly, I expect the Panthers to be very competitive. They've always been competitive, no matter what. Hurt or not, they've always been competitive. So I do expect them to, really bring it. So again, I just week to week with my team, I have to just see what my Jaguars gonna do.
Kim?
Well, I we'll have to see. I think when I listen to Bubba, I think about I went over and visited with the Tigers this week at TSU, took a look at them at practice, and everybody says the same thing. The goal that they started with when the season kicked off a couple of weeks ago is the same. And at this point, everybody's got pretty much the same chance of getting there, and nothing's changed. And so that's how they're trying to make sure that their teams, they remind them of, listen, when we started, the goal was to win the SWAC and to get to Atlanta, and those things are still in front of us. And that's what I hear him say, just like it's what I hear Keisha say. It's still out there, right? It could happen.
All right. And Will?
Pretty much, I'm going to echo what they said and even what Coach said. I mean, every week right now, you're going to be making adjustments for whatever team you're going to play next. And so essentially, as a coach, you're only making those adjustments for whatever team you're going to play next. And so everything he said was pretty much spot on. I think that with them playing a Southern team, obviously a SWAC West division game, they would, obviously want to win this game because that would sit them, put them well in the SWAC West in terms of, staying aligned with their goals of where they're trying to get to. So, I mean, it's just essentially continue to win, continue to get healthy, and continue to allow yourself to get better and not to be complacent.
All right. Excellent. Let's turn our attention to the National Football League right now. Bryce Young, and we kind of touched on this earlier this week. He has been demoted, and he's not the starting quarterback from the Carolina Panthers. But we're going to talk to Lewis Moore in a few minutes about the evolution of the black quarterback. But Kim, when you look at what's happening with some of the great young stars who are not quarterbacks, like Alvin Kamara had a fantastic day on Sunday with the 4 touchdowns.
Had to get that in, didn't you? You slick.
They're hating as usual.
Go ahead, I'm sorry. You said
no, hold on. Since you went there, so let's put up the graphic. He had 4 touchdowns, 65 receiving yards, and 115 rushing yards. But it was just one of those classic Alvin Kamara virtuoso performances. And you just have to like what you see in that young man. But all in all, they had some great performances across the board. But the clash between Caleb Williams and CJ Stroud is just a part of that young group of talented black quarterbacks that we're going to see more and more coming up, right?
Yeah, it is. And you know, I you heard me say before, I think it's unfair to judge quarterbacks against what CJ Stroud did last year because he had such a phenomenal year, but also it's the situation that he was in, right? He had D'Amico, and so that was huge. He had D'Amico Ryans, and he had some pieces around him. I think Caleb's going to be fine. CJ talked about it yesterday after practice. He said it took him 3 or 4 weeks in that first year to really kind of start to get his groove. And one of the things Coach Ryan said earlier this week too is the expectations that people have on these young quarterbacks. With a time where as a rookie, you rarely played. People forget how long it took Peyton Manning. He was awful at first before he really found his way. But now the expectation is you're a quarterback, come in, you're a rookie, and what they don't say is we want you to win while you're on that rookie contract, right? Before we have to really start paying you all the money. And so what kind of systems are they putting around them, whether they're the black quarterbacks or not? And we talked about Bryce Young earlier this week. It is the pressure to perform right away is so high, but also I think what they've done in North Carolina is kind of malpractice. It's an awful organization. It just is. The owner is awful. They fired Wilkes a few years ago when he had a winning record. They haven't had any success since. They brought this young man in because Dave Tepper, the owner, allegedly didn't like the way he looked. Think about that, whatever you will. But he didn't put anything around him. And now in year 2, you're saying we're going to go to Dalton and he's not going to play. So, it is they've just done an awful job of giving him the tools and preparing him, evaluating him. I don't know what kind of success he'll have in the league, but he's probably not going to have it at Carolina.
Gotcha. Let's talk about 2 quarterbacks. It was kind of rare to hear, but good to hear that you have Fields supporting Russ Wilson, who's been out, and saying that, he's a great quarterback and he's going to be back, but those guys are still competing for that starting job there, Ray, up there in Pittsburgh. Is it fair to say right now that Russell Wilson has seen his better days behind him, or is it fair to say that he would need another chance to be able to prove himself?
I honestly think it's a little bit of both. If you look at Justin Fields, I'm not surprised by his character. I followed this in high school. I'm sure many of you have as well from his days on QB1. That's just how he was raised. That's how he was brought up. So it's not a shock. But I think you can benefit from Russ's experience. He's won a Super Bowl, nearly won a second one, some questionable play calling. But I think that they have the right coach to navigate that situation as well. And Mike Tomlin knew exactly what he was doing when he brought both these guys in, knowing they could coexist, where eventually Justin Fields is going to be the starter. But you wanted to have Russ, because of his experience, begin the season as that guy to lead a team that many believe all you need to do is not turn the ball over. That's all Justin Fields is doing right now. and that team is successful because that's how they win. They win defensively and they run the football effectively. And Russell Wilson has shown he can do that when he listens and he has the right guy in his ear. And hopefully Mike Tomlin is a guy. But again, I think it's a little bit of both. You lean on that experience, but you know his best days are behind him. And I think it's nothing wrong with saying that. I think he'll acknowledge that himself.
Yeah. Such a talented, good young man, good for the whole sport as we know it. But it just seems like he's having struggles. And I thought Sean Payton was going to be the answer for Russ, but it wasn't quite that.
I'm just saying. I mean,
he wasn't horrible in New Orleans, though.
He
was good in New Orleans.
He was good in New Orleans, but then when he wasn't, he went to Denver and he just
lost his mind.
He just went
out of his own way.
He just went, Kim. He just went.
He just went. He was there.
He lost his mind.
Exactly. Well, exactly.
Right. Because it became so much about him. But anyway, he listen. I used to work in New Orleans. I covered the Saints. I mean, of course, when I was there, there was no Sean Payton. It was Jim Haslett. That's how long ago I was there. But it was the first time they got to the playoffs in a long time. Yeah,
I thought you were going to say Jim Moore. I was going to say, oh.
Yeah, I think he's made a mess of what he's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just yeah.
Things, Kyle. I mean,
she keeping it real.
I'm just come on. Are you going to sit here and tell me you're still a Sean Payton fan?
No, I would never say I was a Sean Payton fan. I did love him as the coach of the New Orleans Saints, and I think he did do a great job. But
he did.
You started to see decision making was starting to wane those final years, even though those guys were 13-3, when it came to those critical times for them to be able to make plays in the playoffs, that wasn't happening. On second down and 6, you don't throw the football to Michael Thomas and lose time on you run time off the clock, guys. Then you don't throw a little screen pass to a 5'8".
Kyle, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you relive all that.
I mean, it's like PTSD, but I'm just saying this
so
is
you can relate to the Cowboy fans.
It's the facts, man. And you look, I've been through the Aints. I've been a young guy in the Superdome with the bags on our heads and still selling out the crowd, just hoping that they win one game. So I've been there, guys, and I've been through the thick and the thin. I'm not a fair weather reporter now, but I do understand the plight of the Saints fans and the Who Dat Nation. So, and Sean Payton gave us a lot of angst. He gave us a lot of thrills, but a lot of angst as well. We should have at least 3 more Super Bowls on that mantle, in my opinion.
Come on now, Kyle.
Okay, all right. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. 3 more?
3.
That's a stretch.
That's a stretch, Kyle. Now, as a fan, that's a stretch.
Okay, all right.
Stretch.
We hear the symphony rolling with the violins playing. So, no, but seriously, yeah, I think there was a lot of, with that offensive production with Drew Brees in his prime, and as well as having guys like Marcus Colston and Darren Sproles, and the list can go on and on and on with the talent that was there. Not to have multiple Super Bowls was a issue. And I spoke to Jeff Duncan about this, who is a Hall of Fame voter. And he did say if Sean Payton cannot win another Super Bowl, his candidacy to be a Hall of Famer may be in question. Just putting it out there, guys. All right.
Okay. Whatever.
So, let's listen to a little clip that I have with Lewis Moore, who has written a very great book, The Great Black Hope, and it's coming out on the 24th. You can find it in Barnes and Nobles. You can find it at Amazon as well. But interesting enough, that same day, Michael Vick's documentary about the evolution of the black quarterback will be on Amazon Prime. So both of those will have their debuts, but let's listen in to what Mr. Moore had to say. Hi, I'm Kyle T. Mosley of the Black Sports Insiders, as well as HBCU Legends on Sports Illustrated. I'm here with author Lewis Moore, who has penned one of the great books, in my opinion, about what's going on with the evolution of the black quarterback. Lewis, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me.
Look, it's been a pleasure. You know, Doug Williams has been a great friend of ours to HBCU Legends, and I help out with the HBCU Legacy Bowl, and just getting to know him, and I have him right there in the background there.
Beautiful. Yeah, see that. It's beautiful. Wow. Yeah. As it says, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I always tell Doug, as well as a lot of people, my first remembrance of Doug was at the first Bayou Classic in Tulane Stadium, and my dad is a Southern graduate, so Doug had us crying all that afternoon.
Was that the 75 game or
it's a 70? Was it 74? 74, 70? I think 74, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, but either way, man, I was a young tyke, and I was like, oh man, it was not fun, but it was great to see how he ascended and came through the league. But of course, as well as I know, there's been a lot of challenges for the black quarterback. So take me through your thought process on why this book, The Great Black Hope.
Yeah, so I just wanted to write a book about the black quarterback. And so, like, to back up all my books, or all of them, two of my books before this, I Fight for Living, which is about boxing in the 18th century, 19th century, and then We Will Win the Day, it's about the black athlete, the civil rights movement. What they do is, and what I do is, I use the black athlete to look at American history, right? That's the lens. That's how I study it. So this is really part of that scope that I do. And so the way I use the black quarterback here is really to look at post-World War II America, and more specifically, the civil rights movement and the post-civil rights movement, where the hope for a lot of African Americans is that integration would lead to something beyond just, sitting at a restaurant, right? And for the middle class, it's, can I move up the social ladder? So for them, the quarterback was everything. It's the most important position in sports. It's generally the person who's thought to be the best leader, the smartest person, right? And so for a generation of African Americans watching college football, if you're watching the 60s and the 70s and in the 80s, you're seeing these guys dominate. But then when you watch the program, you don't see it. And so I wanted the book to be able to explain that. And selling on Doug and Vince allows me to do that in a nice, tight narrative, I think, is learning about that community. That's just, it's a community that's built on strength and built on pride. And they didn't get a lot of help, right? From Baton Rouge or Zachary or Pride. And it's a story of black folks post-slavery into Reconstruction saying, this is our land, this is our home, and we're going to build here. And that molded Doug Williams.
It sure did, man. Molded him into a great quarterback, as well as visionary, that we know today as part of the Black College Football Hall of Fame, as well as the visionary behind the HBCU Legacy Bowl, and helping out to be able to broaden the knowledge for a lot of scouts and executives about who these young, talented individuals from HBCUs are. But what kind of struck me in your book, man, and guys, go and get the book.
Yeah.
The Great Black Hope. Go get the book. Lewis Moore's book is great. It's on Amazon and everywhere else that you need to go Barnes and Nobles, whatever. Just get the book.
No teams wanted to take a look at him. I mean, here's a guy who wins the Rose Bowl on national TV, and he's barely getting a sniff. And he said, forget this. And he had seen too many black quarterbacks like him not get a real opportunity, maybe you play cornerback or maybe you play receiver, and he didn't want to do that. He knew he was a true quarterback. So like a lot of guys who had to do it before him, starting with Bernie Custis in the early 1950s. He went to Canada, right. and he balled out in Canada. But what that allows him to do, because he didn't get drafted in the 1978 draft, is that makes him a free agent. So the way it worked is if you got drafted, even if you went somewhere else and didn't play, that team who drafted you owned your rights. And that's right. And Moon and his agents told teams like, look, I'm going to Canada. Don't even draft me.
And that's Lee Steinberg, right?
Lee Steinberg, right. And so that allowed him to come back years later, 84, to come back as the first true free agent. So every other player, even if you're a college player going into the draft, you have no rights because any team, ask John Elway, right? Any team could draft you. Now, Elway luckily had baseball and could say, no, I'm not going to play. Or Bo could say, no, I'm not going to, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? But it was Moon who came in. Nobody had his rights, and that meant they had to pay him what he wanted. And he comes in as the highest paid player ever. And then a couple years later, he's going to do it again, right? So twice in his early career at a time where they're not even letting black quarterbacks play. So when Moon does that in 84, I think he's all by himself.
November is American Diabetes Month, but we're not here to celebrate it. Not when diabetes is gripping us and hurting us. At the American Diabetes Association, we're here to make a stand. Join us, add your passion, lift up your loved ones and those in need, and move us closer to a cure. Someday, we can celebrate. Until then, we fight.
Visit your local Acura dealer for attractive offers on a new vehicle.
See those people right there? Mm-hmm. When they get inside and find out this place doesn't serve food, they're gonna wish they had done this.
Facts.
Get one favorite like a Big Mac or Quarter Pounder with cheese and get another for just $1 right now at McDonald's.
This is how it starts with the 2023 McDonald's Change Leaders. 10 young black visionaries who are starting something and changing everything. Find out what they're up to at mcdchangeleaders.com.
No charger?
It's a Mac. The battery lasts all day. See you next week.
Okay, welcome back, guys. We are about to wrap up the show. Let's talk about what's on your minds right now. Anybody? Bueller?
Who you starting with?
Anybody? Come on.
All right, so I'm gonna do my shout out. Wilton and I talked about Savannah State grad is Ncaa. That is a 2-time Olympian, which is Tokyo and Paris. She was actually playing for Team Nigeria during the Olympics, but she is now going to play in the WNBA with the Atlanta Dream. So I'll get to see her. I'm sure Wilson will be back, so he'll get to see her. And the Dream literally just got in to they clinched the playoff spot. So, if Atlanta ain't going to do nothing, they're going to turn up. But y'all know the Falcons. Sorry, Ray. They're going to disappoint you Sunday. So don't worry about it.
You even knew what a guy could do.
They pay the Chiefs.
Okay.
We'll see.
All right. Wilton.
No, I was just going to add to what Keisha said. Kalu actually got some playing time tonight. She actually scored a couple points in that game that the Dream won to secure the 8th spot, and they'll face the Liberty in the first round starting on Sunday. But beyond that, just thinking about some of the games that's going to happen this weekend. Of course, Prairie View's game against Southern, Jackson State and Grambling. I was thinking about that game a lot earlier. It's gonna, it's the first, because they don't count Jackson State and Southern as a SWAC game, the way it's set up because of Southern in the West, Jackson State in the East. But just getting a chance to see two 2-1 teams come in and what's going to actually happen. Like, what version of Miles Crowley will Grambling have? And also, Cameron McCoy should be starting again for Jackson State. At least that's what TC Taylor said in his press conference on Monday. So that should be interesting to see. It's still so wide open in the West, in the SWAC West. So I'm interested to see. And it's been like that for like the last 3 or 4 years. So I'm interested to see what that looks like as well.
I'm not going to drop too much, but we're going to see a different Miles Crowley. And that's all I'm going to say. We're going to see a different Miles Crowley. That's from Grambling, but that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
I have to give Miles credit. He did bring those guys back. He led that last drive against Texas A&M Commerce, and he was very poised in doing so. And I have to give him credit for leading a great comeback, and the G-men needed that one. They really did. Psychologically, I think that did a lot for that team as well. Kim, what's happening in the NFL? What you doing with the Texans this weekend?
So the Texans are traveling to Minnesota. That should be an interesting matchup. They'll face Brian Flores, who of course is familiar with, they all these coaches all come from that same tree, if you will. One of the things that was interesting, we talked about with Texans offensive coordinator Bobby Schloeg today. He said, although you may say that we're from the same tree, everybody's system is still a little different. But Brian Flores creates a lot of chaos with that defense. So CJ and company will go up. They're a little banged up. Joe Mixon didn't practice today. Damian Pierce didn't practice today. So we'll see what happens there. I'm curious about that. And I'm also really curious to see what happens with that Ravens and Cowboys game, right? I think the thing I'm looking for is to see if, one, the Ravens give the ball to Derrick Henry, which is why they brought him there. I mean, he ought to touch it at least 20 times.
Yeah.
And to see if in fact Dallas is able to stop the run, because it looks like they cannot. And so I'm curious about that game and a lot of other games that are going on this weekend. But those are a couple that I'm looking to see what happens. And we don't talk a lot about it here, but baseball season's winding down, right? Watching the Astros, it's a couple weeks left in the regular season, and I think their magic number may be 7. They're tied right now at 1 with the Angels. So looking at some of those things. And TSU travels to Beaumont to take on Lamar University, which is ranked for the first time nationally. Lamar is, and to see how TSU bounces back from what you and I both witnessed against Rice University.
Kind of curious, how did Coach Dishman see this game playing out? Did he talk to you a little bit about it?
Yeah, I mean, he said one of the things that he was glad they had a bye week, right? He said that everybody's back focused. He said there'd been so much talk about Prairie View. He talked to us about that after the game, and that they didn't take care of the small things. Remember, they were without a quarterback, and their middle linebacker, who was really key to their defense, was out. So I think they're probably still going to hold KJ out this week, but they look pretty good at practice. And his big thing is we can't obviously turn the ball over, and we have to be more disciplined. If we do those things, we should be okay. So he's looking at this in Lamar, but definitely knowing that how they build this week is important, but also if they build to get ready to come for their first home game when they host Jackson State next week.
Okay, Ray, what's happening in the NFL in your neck of the woods?
Before I answer that, I just want to say real quick 2 things. One is a full circle moment for me tonight, because when I first met you, Kyle, you told me about Joe Gilliam. I don't know if you remember that discussion, but I don't know how he factors into that book. And also,
he's in it.
Michael Vick, and is he in it? Okay, I'm definitely gonna get it. You also mentioned Michael Vick, and just want to say this: I know how y'all feel about celebrity coaches, but he's a name that's coming up at Norfolk State. Just remember that.
Wow.
He did a girls flag football camp there this summer, and right now they're not happy. The alumni are happy. So there you go. Do what you want with that.
Well, I want to give you some NFL insider news. He was also interested in the Morehouse job.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Oh, thank God he didn't take that. So yeah, Norfolk State might be a better option.
Oh, Cal, Cal, don't let him do you like that.
Yikes.
Oh man.
You know what? While we're right, I was just low. That was low. That was low, Ray.
That was shots fired right there.
That was like below the belt.
When you come to the MEAC, I'll give
he caught me off guard on that one. That's all right, baby. I'm
Wait, but
bounced
you
back.
know who's surprising me at number 2 right now in the MEAC? Delaware State.
That's right.
Yeah.
The Hornets. Hornets are looking.
They got more
good.
money than most. They got more money than most programs at Delaware State. Their athletic budget is actually pretty good. So that plays a role. Money does it. But the Cowboys game was just mentioned. That's the discussion around here. Because the Ravens are 0-2, and that's unfamiliar territory for the Ravens.
Yeah.
So people are wondering, all right, is this a time where maybe that head coaching change comes eventually? A lot of fans, they are so hot and cold with Harbaugh, man, which is not fair to him, by the way. But that's just how it is around here. But Lamar isn't the one under question around here. It's right now. It's the use of Derrick Henry, and it's also the defense. And if that
it's
defense
the offensive coordinator. Come on, guys. It's the offensive coordinator.
Give Derrick Henry the ball.
Give Derrick Henry the ball.
You have a
playoff
game, and in the second half, you run the ball, 2 times? Come on. It's the offensive coordinator.
Y'all said
it. You could have that problem in New Orleans, guys.
And
we got that problem in New Orleans.
Don't have that problem no more, baby.
The former Redskins, they traveled to Cincinnati Monday night, 7.5 point underdogs, no expectations. And Jaden Daniels, everybody loves him. But Terry McLaurin, number 1 receiver out here, is not getting the ball, and people are questioning why. So we're going to be interested to see if that changes Monday night. But that's all I got.
Well, I will be traveling to New Orleans, going home, get some home cooking. Yeah, and be able to see the New Orleans Saints pound the Philadelphia Eagles into submission. Yes, I said it, and it's going to happen. That Superdome is going to be rocking. It's going to be great. But in all fairness, it's going to be a good game because Jalen Hurts and those guys got to bounce back to keep pacing that NFC East, or may not if the Cowboys lose, they'll be right on the same par because it doesn't look – the East was projected to be one of the better conferences and divisions, right? And it just doesn't seem like it's boding well for the East early on in the season. But the NFC South and the AFC West are the 2 best conferences at this moment. And that was a lucky win by those Falcons. We know that. Okay, anyway. Ray's just giving it to me today, man.
I was so upset. I was angry. I was like, oh my God.
We should have just one Super Bowl. That's all I can say. I can be real about
one against the Patriots. Absolutely.
28-3, 3-14 in. Do you want me to count it down for you, Ray? Come on, man. Nah. 28-3, you lose the game in the biggest game of the year, right in Houston, right? Yeah, that's where it took place. Yeah. All right, man. But that's some good stuff, guys. So there are some great games out there. Of course, you need to pay attention to. I think Valley is going to play a Louisiana team, and you got Southern Prairie View, and you have Alabama State. Those guys are playing another FCS team. But before we leave, we're going to talk next week a little bit more in depth on Wednesday night. We're not going to do Monday and Thursday. We will have a Wednesday night show next week. And we're going to talk about what's happening in the NCAA. Everything is splitting. The Power 4 conferences and the big boys are really taking the money with them, and they don't want to share it with anybody else. And they're going to go and form their own division. And the FCS, as well as the other lower tier teams, are going to merge. That's going to be very interesting, and it may be able to give a little bit added boost to the HBCUs. But we'll talk about that a little bit more in detail. Follow us at Black Sports Insiders. You can be able to go online to all of our social media platforms, as well as you can check us out on HBCU Plus. Go to hbcu-plus.com, and you can be able to view our rebroadcast tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Well, Keisha, Kim, Ray, thank you so much for everything that you guys are doing. Thank you guys out there for following us. And don't forget, go and get Lewis Moore's book and be able to support him and his contributions to the history of the Black quarterback. I'm Kyle T. Mosley of HBCU Legends, as well as the Black Sports Insiders. Thank you. Take care and have a good one.